Baboony here, and it wouldn't be a Baboony video if we weren't talking about Nativity Herods or something. Well, as they say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So that's what we're doing. We're about to enter Lackey Grand Prix Top Cut. It's the last match before that. We are taking this Nativity deck with a few adjustments. I'm going to be fighting Mr. Null himself. So II is introducing a little bit more Soul Hide, Soul Protect. And a card that is really good against that is Orphans, and pair that with Guardians of Glory. If you can get to one of those early, it's really going to limit their blocking option. Same with Accusers. If they're running a Canaanite defense, Canaanites, they don't have a lot of CBP, cannot be prevented, so Accusers is going to negate a lot of their blocks, like Woman of Thebes. So I have 2 Lost Souls that can stop Woman of Thebes, potentially a third one if I get this out during the battle phase. And then one last adjustment I've made is Grapes of Wrath coming in and taking out Christian Martyr. Against Joshua decks, Christian Martyr doesn't do a bunch because they're just going to be pushing with Captain Banded to Joshua most of the time. And so if they're doing that, having a Grapes is a great way to catch up and also shuffle away their Captain so they can't keep drawing cards every turn. And cutting Herodes' daughter, putting in Herodantipus. Overall, this list is very similar to the one I used at Nationals, but just a couple adjustments. While Protection comes out, Herodantipus comes in, trim a card from the deck, switch up the Lost Soul package, add Victorious Being. Herodantipus is a really good card, but he's not a really good turn 1 block. But that's okay. Neither is Herodes' daughter, but this guy's better than Herodes' daughter, so here he is. I think he's better in a world where Nativity is going to be played and Joshua, he can just go grab Contagious Fear and Abandonment. And the reason I'm not playing Contagious Fear main deck is I got some Orphans. So the idea is I use Herodantipus to grab Contagious Fear, and then I can play Contagious Fear even though I have Orphans. So kind of cute. Mr. Null, he's playing something like this. I don't know his exact list, but as far as I can tell, it's a Joshua deck with a Moabite defense. So definitely looking to get a captain out early to draw a bunch of cards each turn. Joshua banning 2 Joshua's officiators to attack my fortresses, putting a Joshua's sword on Joshua to discard more of my fortresses. If there's like a deck that has the potential to really disarm what Nativity is doing, it's one that can attack the fortresses. So if I'm being honest with you, Joshua is one of the decks that I'm scared of. If they can get rid of my fortresses. If they can't, things become a lot easier. A lot of their cards depend on hand attacks, so like Teaching, Promised Land, and Shekels. If I have multiple sources of hand protection out, then my blocks are going to be okay. They only have 1 Angel, they only have 1 Glory, and pretty much once I get around those 2, I can stonewall a big banding chain for a long time. As far as the defense, normally I would be kind of scared about cards like this, but I do have those cards that protect Lost Souls. So a lot of his blocks become not that great. So like this one, this one, this one. These all are evil characters that protect Lost Souls. So if I'm protecting Lost Souls from evil cards with Guardians or Orphans, these guys, what are his best blocks after that, right? Yeah, I guess this match is really going to come down to fighting over those good fortresses early. If I can get multiple sources of hand protection down without being disrupted, and if I can rescue a soul of return, maybe get 1 good block off, and this game should be favored. Now I'm playing this version of Nativity, and I don't want to not play Guardians anymore. Like, it's just so good against random Soulhide stuff. Sure, they can have answers to it, but the time frame where they need to have their answer to line up against what my question is very limited. And I love how easy it is just to ban this guy. So if you're playing it into offense right now, I'd really suggest you play Guardians. All right, we got the Stressed, which is going to be negating territory class characters. And then we got the Subdued Lost Soul. I'm still trying to remember these guys' names, but basically if one of their Moabites dies, this can get shuffled. So that gets around my evil, protecting Lost Souls from evil cards. So this is definitely a Lost Soul that I'll want to Son of God or negate somehow in battle. All right, so I just use Guardians to check out his reserve. I can't actually discard a card from their reserve yet because it's turn 1. And I won the die roll, so I get to go first. He doesn't have any star abilities, so I'm just going to take my turn here. So Resurrection Revealer is a great card, and it's good against Distressed on turn 1. So even if they draw at turn 1, you can just put Resurrection Revealer into battle. And so Distressed is only going to negate characters in territory. So if I attack with Res Revealer on turn 1, he's going to negate their Distress, and by the time he goes back to territory, he'll be negating Distress. So Res Reveal is good against Distressed, like early and late game. It's only bad if you can't really push him into battle. So I'm just going to do my standard play, get the Resurrection, Bandage on, play a card from my deck. Now I'm tossing the next. I drew 2 cards. And even though I don't have any white heroes in battle, or I do have a negate, and I do have a grapes, Most decks can't really block a turn 1 resurrection, tossing the next. They have to have multiple evil enhancements, and then they have to have a way to deal with multiple heroes. And he just gives me the soul, and I'm up 1-0. Lost Child Found gets my vote for one of the most underrated or subtly best cards right now. It can just do so much, if like bouncing territory class characters. Like this card is pretty annoying if they're able to get it out and prevent you from drawing. So if you want to try and do a bunch of drawing on your turn, you can just do Lost Child Found, bounce it. Same with their other territory stuff like Balaam. I, in theory, like Balaam, but with so much 20 shekels going around, this card doesn't get a good chance to do what it wants to do. If you're just playing against this guy, you just play 20 shekels, bounce him to their hand, and then play your territory stuff. All right, the opponent is attacking. Lord's army coming in hot, protecting lost souls and restricting evil doms. All right, I don't have many good blocks here. I would love to go Herod Archelaus, but I don't have a way to get to him, and I can't get to reserve on turn 1, and he has 10 attacks, so I guess I gotta Herod the Great, and I get to figure out if I want to play Herod or play Herod's Temple, and I'll just get the Temple. It's good on offense, good on defense. If they start pushing with characters next turn, having a way to block with Herod Agrippa and toss their stuff is going to be great. Okay, so opponent didn't need Angel of the Lord there. It was mutual. I guess they maybe wanted to save their character from dying, but if they burn an Angel like that, it's going to make our chances of blocking with Herod Antipas a lot better moving forward. So kind of happy to see that happen, as opposed to just letting them have mutual, and then he still has Angel of the Lord for later. That would have made this game a little bit more scary. All right, his hand's protected, so he can't use the Annunciation to look at his hand, but we can use Lawless, which reveals top 6. It's an evil card. There's only one. There's Herod's Guard. Would have loved to see him last turn. Herod's Guard's good against Joshua. They don't have a lot of CBP enhancements. They just have Amazing Faith and then the Lord, Holy Ground or something. So if you're able to block with Herod's Guard, I don't know. You're not really trying to win a bunch of negate wars with Herod's. All right, so things are going great for us. He wasn't able to take out any of our fortresses on turn 1, and I now have 3 forms of hand protection because I got the crowds. All right, and every upkeep I get to do something with Bethlehem Stable. And a reason why I activated Herod's Temple there, even though I didn't really need to, is I actually wanted to exile a Mary or a Res Revealer, or sorry, a Nativity Hero, so I could get it with Stable, and that's exactly what happened. So I get Messianic Messenger back. Being very careful not to draw cards or let the opponent draw cards. 20 shekels will bounce their Balaam, play the Protecting King. Wait, that's not the one. I don't know what the name of the other guy is. The Unconsenting King. This guy. So that guy's going to be good against me if I attack with the big banding chain. So he's on the list of cards I want to attack. And now that Balaam's out of the way, we can play our territory class Annunciation. We get to get our choice of the litter here. I don't know what the best one to get there was. Let's see. Definitely want to attack with Mary. If I attack with Mary, Mary can either take out the Unconsenting King or that Priest of Zeus there. But maybe I just go banding chain. Do I go like banding chain, Mary, or do I just push a single Mary? If I push with the giant banding chain, I'm going to give them initiative, and I don't have glory, even though I in theory could get glory with my star. I don't know if I want to give them initiative to play their evil enhancements that I saw in their hand. So I think I'm just going to go with Mary. I have enough power in my hand to toss anybody down. I should have grabbed the Child is Born here just because of 7 toss. I don't want to have to toss my Coming Prince if I don't need to. All right, so they're going to block with the Balaam I knew about, and it's unfortunate I didn't grab my A Child is Born because I could have tossed this guy down without letting him play anything. But now I have to burn 2 enhancements to do it. And I need to do it in a way where I don't give him initiative so he can just toss me down. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to toss my Lost Child Found and then Coming Prince. That way, I don't give him initiative. Because if I toss him for 2, he goes to a 3-5 versus my 1-3. So he's still killing me, and then I can just finish him off with the Coming Prince. Mary's the best hero in the game right now, guys. I'm better than Matthew. Matthew can draw cards, sure, but can he win every battle? Can he just... Opponent has a Christian martyr in their hand, and they can't play it because Mary's protected. Their enhancements don't do anything. Oh my gosh, Mary just, I can't. So in my free time, I've been trying to figure out how can I beat Nativity. I helped bring Nativity onto the map, but now if Nativity picks up again and it's being played in tournaments, people who have a game plan to beat it are gonna be favored maybe. So now I'm like, how can we beat Nativity? And Mary's kind of like Simon the Zealous, and there's not a lot of options to beat him. I mean, you can play Wall of Protection against Simon, but even if they can place demons in your territory, and he still does that. And so Simon, you can play like Confusion of Mind, negate him. But Mary is CBN. And if you try to hurt her, she's just going to go to Bethlehem Stable. And even if you manage to discard her, the victorious being can get her back. So I guess the only way I figured out how to beat Mary is ban to her. So if I'm playing an NT offense, I can like ban to Mary, convert her to Meek, and she becomes Clay Brigade. So unless the opponent has a way to bounce Mary, like Lost Child Found or Temple Veil, that Mary's going to be out of the game for the rest of the game. But if that becomes more popular, people could just start playing Temple Veil, and maybe even in addition to 20 Shekels, because of that's how good hand information is right now. I'm just going down this weird theoretical place. So I'm trying to figure out if the best way to beat Nativity is just to play like a tweaked Nativity version, one that's more focused on like banding and stuff, or is it just a different NT offense? I don't think any Old Testament offense will be able to fight Nativity except maybe Joshua for the reasons I mentioned before about having them destroy the fortresses, but they still have to deal with Mary. And I don't know, maybe that's a defensive problem. But ironically, the best way to deal with Nativity right now is the different offenses you pick. So like Joshua, if you pick Joshua, you can attack the fortresses. And if you take out Storehouse early or a Bethlehem Stable early, it's huge. Or you can ban to Mary. And if you rely on artifacts like stocks, maybe to try and capture Mary, res revealers in play to negate the stocks. So, all right. So Herod's Guard's going to block, prevent the next, exchange to Herod Antipas. Herod Antipas will grab Contagious Fear, and I'll threaten the auto block. If he, and something he did, he used his Son of God's Second Coming. And so that puts him up 3-2. So now my Grapes of Wrath is looking very deadly. I think if I was in his situation and I saw that John, the fisherman, had revealed a grapes off the reveal, rescuing 2 lost souls right there is, I don't know. That's just, I don't know. And this is also interesting. He's choosing to negate the Herod's Guard. So Herod Antipas will go back to territory and I'll get my Contagious Fear back. So he had attacked with his Stone Carriers, his favorite character that lives to bounce. And then he exchanged to his captain, which captain would negate Herod's. He could negate something. And I guess the reason why he didn't want to negate Herod Antipas is he thought maybe the Lord's army would help protect against Contagious Fear. But if he negates Herod Antipas, the Contagious Fear goes back anyways. So that was a pretty easy grapes there. Kind of the best scenario because I get to keep Herod Antipas. I don't even have to discard him to grapes, and now he loses his whole offense and it can't attack again. I guess, yeah. So if I'm thinking about ways to beat Nativity, grapes is probably one of the dominants you'd have to be running because they can get ahead early. They do love to push big attacks, or like you can shuffle away their Mary if they're attacking with their Mary. It might just give you enough time to come back. So maybe moving forward, I would give if two Nativity decks were playing against each other, but one was using grapes and the other was using like or something, I think the grapes might swing the matchup a little bit. All right, my turn. I drew Lost Souls. That was lucky. This card should be in every deck, in my opinion. This card just helps you out because if you're playing a really aggressive meta, like maybe we are, and you need to be rescuing Lost Soul every turn, and if opponent just randomly doesn't draw a lot of cards, and you're both racing, you're gonna lose the race because you can rescue Lost Souls. So do yourself a favor. If you're not playing this card already, play it. One of the best Lost Souls ever printed, and probably adds a few percentage points to my win percentage overall. I probably wouldn't win as many games as I do if I wasn't playing this. And same with Hopper. I just got done looking at all the decks from Nationals and publishing those on Land of Redemption, and I was kind of amazed by how many decks weren't running Hopper. It's like, why aren't you running Hopper? Just add it to your deck. Like, what? I mean, I understand if you're playing a Soulhide deck and you need Meeks for your defense, but everything else should be running Hopper. And I hate to just always say this should be doing this or this should be doing this. But if there's anything I can say that about, it's probably Hopper, okay? All right, so I know he has Christian Martyr. My guys aren't protected, so I was just doing some math there. So he was a 1-3, and I was attacking with a 1-3, a 2-9, and a 4-5. So if you like Christian Martyrs, the Guardians, I still had enough to get through. I didn't want to give him initiative because I know if earlier I saw he had Unsuccessful in the reserve, and then he had a Duplicity in his hand. So if I give him special initiative, he could just go interrupt the battle and play Unsuccessful, and I wouldn't get the soul there. So I used Glory to make sure I had enough numbers to win the battle, even if he Christian Martyred my biggest guy. Okay, so another soul. We're up to 3, and we haven't played Son of God Second Coming yet, so I just need to draw my Son of God, and then we win the game. And he's already played his too, so things are looking really bad for him. To win this game, he needs to make a rescue attempt here and break through, and then go to my turn. I need to fade rescuing, and I need to fade drawing Son of God. And then it needs to go to his turn, and then he needs rescue one more time. So yeah. A lot of things need to go right. Well, him. Especially, he's just not working with so many cards. My Disoriented was able to negate his Storehouse. My hand protection is shutting down his Shekels. Cool tech card, though. He is trying to figure out how he can beat Nativity. And if you're playing Battle Dominance, then Kingdoms of the World can help. Like if I go Glory or whatever on my lone hero, he's just going to underdeck that hero. So I like the thought, but I think in practice, where it's like Gabriel can just attack and ban to Mary. Mary can negate it too. So yeah, on the list of cards I think would beat Nativity. I'm not sure if I put Kingdoms on there because of how weak it is to Gabriel and Mary. If I'm trying to rely on an evil card or a neutral card in my territory to stop Nativity, like Mary's just gonna take you out. Okay, okay, what would happen if you activated Gideon's ephod and they attacked with Mary? Would Mary die before Gideon's ephod would trigger? Because I think Mary would come and then it would negate Gideon's ephod, or it could target Gideon's ephod. So this was like a card I thought about. I was like, yeah, maybe I should play this and take out the opponent's Simons and the opponent's Marys, but I don't know if it's going to work. It's good against Simon, though. Okay, so back to the game. I went with Herod Antipas, and I had foreign horses on him. Cool thing you can do with Storehouse, if you don't really have access to Herod's Executioner, you can go Storehouse, get your foreign horses, put it on one of your Herods. And I especially love putting foreign horses on Herod Antipas, because Herod Antipas can just, and he can block, and then he triggers his ability for the horses, so you can take that NT card from reserve, and then foreign horses will trigger when you can play it immediately. Just super busted. Yep. And then I have the Messianic Messenger, which doesn't require hand disadvantage to get stuff from your deck, which is very important. Most of the other Nativity cards do, like Zechariah, Joseph, Magi. They require you to have less cards in hand than opponent to get their effect, but Messianic Messenger you can take from deck. It's the reserve that requires hand disadvantage, or whatever you call it. And so Son of God is a Nativity card. Or at least this one. Yeah, make sure to play the Luke Son of God in your Nativity deck. Yeah, we got the game 5-3 against Null. So a couple takeaways here. I really like the Joshua decks running some sort of territory disruption, because it would just prevent me from putting out my evil characters like that, and makes their hand attack plan more viable. So cards like Judge's Seat I think are very good in Joshua. I think cards like Betrothed, if you splash it, it's good. That way you attack their territory and you attack their hand. Because if you just do one or the other, you can just dump all your evil characters to the territory and feel safe. And this one I have the best of both worlds. I can protect the territory with Herod's Temple, and I can protect the hand with everything else. So whatever Joshua does has a hard time unless they're able to remove all these fortresses. So pretty straightforward game. Deck functioned perfectly. I made maybe like the one misplay there with Mary not getting a child is born, but this game might have been really close if opponent didn't burn Son of God's Second Coming so early and walk into the grapes. All right, thanks for watching. I'll see you around.